I love how much flavor we can get out of each method of fermentation and cooking and fire and smoking. And I love creating steps of flavor, mixing between acidity and bitterness and creaminess and textures and temperatures.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Over the years, I've come to realise there are two types of chefs, those that master technique and precision, and the free spirits that let produce, the moment, and instinct guide their cooking. Both can deliver incredible results, but how does a chef that banks on their instincts ensure consistency in a hospitality setting? Matais Cilloniz is the head chef of Rafi in North Sydney. Matais, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you, Huck?
I'm great. It's great to get you on the show. You're doing some pretty incredible things there at Rafi and given a hat recently. What's it like there?
Thanks. Yeah, it's been a crazy little path to embark, coming all the way from Peru and being back into Sydney and Australia after almost 18 years since I started my career here in Australia. Yeah, I feel so old when I say that, but yeah, it's been beautiful and crazy and hectic, and now it's settling down, and I'm starting to see and get to understand what Sydney side is like, and what how does the providers and the producers and a little bit more of how things are handled here. So it's been great.
There's so many areas of Sydney that are sort of renowned for sort of little restaurant precincts and eating zones and stuff, but North Sydney's always been considered a business district, but Rafi's in sort of the hustle and bustle of North Sydney. What's it like there now and with the restaurant?
You can see a little bit of everything, to be honest. Lunchtime, it's quite busy and fast. No, you can see people from offices with little time, some meetings, some more casual gatherings, and groups of very diverse groups, I would say, more towards the weekend. I don't know if mainly feminine, but strongly feminine. Rafi, it's a colorful, beautiful, like lots of light, natural light, and it's a very summery, cool vibe place, laid back, but still elegant in some way. And night times are much more comfortable, and people just want to stay for longer and enjoy. So we love everything. We love the fastness of lunch services. We love the longer dinners in the nighttime, and all the diversity of the groups during the weekend.
Applejack have been doing some incredible things in Sydney with some amazing venues. What's it like being part of the group?
I love it. When I decided that I wanted to come to Australia, I was searching for groups. I still own businesses back home. I own a cafe and a little boutique hotel, and its business is doing great. But I wanted to learn from a group like Applejack, and I was getting interviews at that time. That this was last year, and when I chatted with Patrick and MJ from HR and Hamish, it just made a lot of sense. The way we handle people, our teams, the core values within the company made a lot of sense to me. And now that I'm here, I can tell for sure that we are very much alike in that sense. Like, we're very people driven, and we want to do better, not only culinary wise, but also for the industry, which is fantastic. I've always tried to do that since I started.
I want to explore your food and what you're doing there at Rafi in a little while, but take us back to when you were young, back to Peru, and what sort of role did food play for you growing up?
I'm part of a very big family that I grew on the countryside. My father is the oldest of 11 siblings, so it's a massive family that like very old school kind of thing, that worked the land. So I've always played around when I was a kid, playing hide and seek around tangerine trees and harvesting white and green asparagus and milking goats and cows, and like I've had that kind of childhood. So it only makes sense to me that somebody within the family was gonna, like get that energy and passion to cook. And yeah, it was me, and I'm the only one. There's a few within hospitality, but I'm the only chef in the family. And from 11 siblings, I have like 36 close cousins. So it's a very big family. Yeah. And where this was located is where the African, Peru is very similar to Australia in the sense where it's a mix of cultures, right? Since the Incas and the pre-colonial era, no, and the way that the Incas and the other cultures before the Incas grew their produce and cooked their meals and fermented their corn beers, which is called chicha. No, like we have an amazing history and heritage. And right after the Spanish came and conquered the Incas, a lot of other cultures came around. So I'm the descendant of Spanish and Italian and Germans came, and Africans came, and Chinese and Japanese and some more. And now some Venezuelans have in the past years have started to come, and they have also had their impacts. No, so it's been 500 years of fusion, let's call it like that. So it's in that sense, it's very similar to Australia, and it's just a lot to get inspired from being a chef and having this passion for produce and how to harvest and how to grow and how things work. So yeah, I've gone a little bit further from the tree branches, but it's been like that.
Well, as you mentioned, the influences have been so many on the culinary landscape of Peru. But tell us a little bit about Peruvian cuisine and what really stands out to you that exemplifies Peruvian cuisine.
Well, we're very lucky and proud, not only about these 500 years of multicultural fusions, but also that we have so many altitude levels, right? Like we go the coast, the Lima, the capital, is right next to the ocean. So we have an amazing variety of seafood, like really top premium quality of seafood, because we have this cold current that comes from the south. But then you go like 1 hour driving towards east, and you're already in the mountainside. No? So you have so many different levels of altitude, and each level has a whole range of biodiversity. So my family's boutique hotel, it's located in the north, in the mountains of North Peru, and the Chachapoyas, which is a culture that lived there, took a lot of advantage out of this multitude of altitudes. So they would grow potatoes and ocas and different kind of tubers very high, and they would grow corn and other kind of plants and vegetables and fruits very low, close to the riverside. And they will, at the end of the year, just harvest the whole year and put it on the mountainsides where it's cold, and you'll be sure to keep it for longer, right? So that's something that we're also really proud of. Not only the diversity of cultures that have influenced us, but also the amazing quality that we have from the coast to the top of the mountain, and then low again to the Amazon valleys and river. So we have, it's just crazy how wild and diverse it is.
How about in your family? You mentioned, such a large family and a food-loving family. Are there any sort of one or two dishes that really stand out from your memories from growing up in that family?
Like I grew up in this place that the African Peruvian community were based at. So there's a lot of strong flavors, and strong flavors, and what is known as poor people's food. No, when you cook beef hearts, and when you cook livers, and stuff that you wouldn't usually or be available to you. No, so these flavors have been really a really strong part of my life. But then my mom and my dad, they went and studied at uni in California when the farm to table movement was a pretty big thing. So my mom has, when he was studying, right, my mom has had an amazing influence in me, and all of my life I've eaten very colorful, very veg driven, very local, So I'm cooking like that now with all of my history, no, and everywhere I've been to, and every chef I've worked with, and whatnot. But they've had such a strong part of my growing and nutrition in different sense.
Tell us about your sort of first steps into the industry. What was it like for you, and where did you begin?
I decided that I wanted to be a chef, helping my mother, and that may sound a bit of a cliche, but she was a great a great entertainer, and I used to help her, and I loved getting. I don't know, getting people happy by not only cooking for them, but also getting the flower arrangements and the music right, and the lighting right, and the beverage. Like it was the whole being a host thing that really got my attention. Her mother, my grandmother, the Italian descendant, she was an amazing cook, so elegant, like so sophisticated, which was completely different to my mom. My mom would follow her instincts. My mom would cook something and then completely forget about what she just did or what she put on a recipe. So I would have to write down, or I would have to be very attentive to see what she did so I could do it again. And that's also a very important part of my growing. And I speak about instinctive style because growing and the seasons, and being close to the earth and the farmers and producers, you just gotta cook what's available, what's best, what seasons are changing now. So we have to just follow what's good, and what the fishermen are fishing, and what's a good quality, good price. We have to pay attention. So I feel that we have to be very adaptive to what's going on, and then standardize. Like it's the instinctive part that comes first, the joyful, the fun part that comes by creating according to what the land offer, and then standardize the recipe, cost it, and serve it on a daily basis. But I went through the branches again. You asked me about how did I start. But yeah, that my mom was a very big influence. And then I decided to study cuisine at Le Cordon Bleu. My father didn't like the idea, but I did it anyway. And then I decided that I wanted to go as far away as possible, and I came to Australia. So I studied at Le Cordon Bleu back home, and I got a job at a Hilton in Cairns. This was 18 years ago, and I started like a commis chef, and I finished 3 years after as a junior sous chef. So passionate. Passion has always driven me. I've always wanted more. I'm very ambitious. I want to learn. I've been very fast paced in that sense. And then I went back and worked with Virgilio and Pia at Central, which just got the first place at the 50 best restaurants. You've probably seen that.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that, but just quickly take us back to Cairns. What was it like for you? Was it quite different, the lifestyle and Cairns compared to what you were used to?
It was similar in a sense that it felt like the countryside, and it's not fair on Cairns, because Cairns is such a bigger city than what I was used to, but that was part of my. As a young chef, I was starting to make my paths, right, and I wanted to discover what did I wanted to do, and I started doing hotel cuisines. No, so it's like, okay, I want to jump in this path, and I want to figure out what I want to do, and that was my first step. And I did hotels and a big hotel, not a small like my actual hotel boutique, which we cater for 30 packs maximum. That was. I was at a restaurant at the bottom level at the Hilton Cairns, and we did so many numbers. Like, it was crazy, and it helped me learning about speed and organization and being very efficient and clean, and it was great. But I decided that wasn't for me. So right after that, I decided to try fine dining, and then I decided that wasn't for me either. But it was also fantastic.
You mentioned Central, and it has just been named #1 restaurant in the world. Take us back to your time in that kitchen. What sort of impact did it have on you, and do you have any stories from that time?
It was. I remember it like it was, as any fine dining restaurant, quite stressful. But I'm very thankful to them, to both Pia and Virgilio, because it helped me see a different way and develop my finesse, and the way that they would treat each ingredient was completely different to what I was used to. So that's why I'm genuinely and forever grateful. It was completely different then to what they're doing now. I've seen a lot of their steps going forward to what they're doing now, and it's been fantastic. But they weren't doing the altitude and anyway what they were doing now. But I've had crazy stories that I once sent. It was my first shift. I was in the prep kitchen to start with, and then they moved me to a side. To one of the sections within the kitchen, and I had to send one portion of fries, where we would confit the potatoes, then we would fry them, and then we would toss them with a Andean herb butter. But I sent it raw. And then you know, when you're in a fast-paced fine dining restaurant, that doesn't come very good. And as a young chef, sending a raw potato, like, how simple and easy, like I maybe shouldn't be a chef if I cannot cook a potato. And I was thrown Le Cruzettes, you know, these cast iron little pans from one side to the other of the kitchen. I won't say by whom, but it was the first intense situation in a kitchen, and I, of course, never sent back a raw potato again.
You mentioned that you were in Australia about 18 years ago, but as you're sort of building your career, what was sort of the real important venues and people that you worked with that helped steer your path?
I think we never stop learning, right? And I'm looking to learn from everyone that I work with and everyone that I work for, and everyone that I'm sharing my team with. And every situation, I'm a very people driven. I love my creativity, but I really enjoy being part of a team. And I've learned from chefs what to do and how I want it to be and how I didn't want it to be. And I've been to different styles of kitchens, and I've done fine dining and hotels and catering, and And then I started my own businesses with success and not that many success in different situations. But it's the people that takes the most of my joy. It's my team here that makes me really proud. Their development and seeing how much they accomplish on a daily basis and how much they grow on their future potential. And I do want to create a vibe, or I do want to transcend within the industry. And I want to make sure that all of the things that bothered me from different points of view, like at the beginning, being gay back home in a kitchen was not accepted. No, like it was bullied. It was like the machism, the intolerance, the work, the negative and toxic work environment, the hours, the pay, like so many things that I think have been wrong with our industry that I've taken responsibility to change within my capabilities, no, and sustainability, the way that we, anyway, so many things, but it's the people that I'm driven mostly from.
How much have the kitchens changed from your perspective?
I think hugely. I think it's a generational thing. I think younger generations do not take that much. They don't take. They don't want to spend the time or the bad humors or the bad services. Like they want to have a good time, and so do I. I want to be happy coming into work every day, and I want that for everyone that work with me, you know. So it's a constant thing that we have to chase for, and I think it's gonna keep on changing. Like I will be old school very soon, you know. I see my niece and my nephews and the ideas that they're bringing, and it's like, wow, it's great. Like we all need to change, you know.
Yeah. You mentioned that you have a cafe and a hotel back in Peru. Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, I started, my cafe started as a bistro, and I had all of this passion that I wanted to create. I wanted to push the way that Peruvians ate in the neighborhood that I was located at. And I thought that we needed to drive change towards sustainability and towards a different way of eating and nutrition, but on a cool and fun way. But it was great. It was a great success at the beginning. We got Best Restaurant of the Year on a newspaper award. It was a fantastic experience. I had, very bad neighbors. I remember we were in this very old colonial house in one of the neighborhoods of Barranco, and of Lima, sorry, and it had two inside patios, and one of the neighbors got upset with the noise that we were making, and she would just every Thursday, which was one of our busier nights, just turn her hose from her garden to our patio. And it was crazy because all of my guests will run out. I would have to change all of the bottles of wine, all of the food. So it was so much wastage for something that could have been avoided if, I don't know, she would have come to me and said, like, this is really pissing me off. Like, can you turn your volume off, or can you put a roof on your patio, or can we can we have a civilized conversation? But yeah, I ended up that night crying, you know, like it's been so hard. It's costing me so much time. On the first week, I almost finished in the hospital because I forgot to eat. I forgot to drink. I was working 24 hours. I wanted to open another service. I think it was a Sunday brunch or something like that. And I had 3 chefs, and, you know, it's like at that time I decided, dude, take it easy. You're meant to enjoy this. You're meant to, you know, like you're meant to have fun. This is your life. You're gonna do this for the rest of your life. Make sure that you enjoy the process. And then, yeah, the neighbors were crazy. I had some, which are my actual business partners, came to me and said, "Dude, this restaurant should be in another place. It should have double seating. Like we should be bigger." And we moved it. We created a bigger restaurant, beautifully designed, and architect. Like it had so much meaning and sense. And it still does. But right after the pandemic, we decided that we were going to change it into a cafe, not a bistro anymore, not push for things that people would kind of be afraid, like I was so intense on cooking brains, for example. Now we had this, I went to Vietnam and I came back and I made this veal brained pho, and I loved it and my chef's friends would love it, but my customers wouldn't. It looked like a veal brain in the dish, in the plate. That's not very friendly towards business and towards customers. So I learned that you have to find your middle ground between what you really want to do and what is actually good for the business. So now my cafe is doing great. We're doing much simpler food. We're opening a second and third location by the end and the beginning of next year. So I'm happy that I'm making money from here, and my investment 7 years ago, and that suffering, that night crying because the neighbor was watering my customers actually paid off.
You mentioned that sort of shift to a cafe during the pandemic period. Did that period of time change your approach to hospitality and what you want to get out of the industry?
It changed what I explained before about understanding what people want is not necessarily what I want for our industry, culinary wise. No, like talking about people. Yes, we all want better pay, better hours, better work environments. We are driving towards that, but people don't want to be afraid at reading a menu. No, so it made more sense to be I became more of a businessman, I think, in the pandemic. And it was tough. Like we had to negotiate with our landlord and we had to negotiate with our providers because we couldn't pay for our previous bills, and our team, how would we help them? And it was crazy times. And I feel I'm more relaxed now. Like I don't have this urgency to prove myself or anyone how creative I can be or how much I can push my customers to a finer palate. Like I found myself being very arrogant when I was younger in that sense, and it's a beautiful learning process.
Tell us a little bit about your approach to cookery. You have very much an instinctive style to recipes and dish creation. Tell us a little bit about your food.
Yeah, I've always, from day one and from like all of my history, growing in the countryside and having my mother cooking very vegetable driven and farm to table, and myself having an orchard at this hotel boutique in Peru. I love vegetables and I love how much flavor we can get out of each method of fermentation and cooking and fire and smoking. And I love creating what I call steps of flavor, mixing between acidity and bitterness and creaminess and textures and temperatures. But I also love to encourage my team to be a part of what we're doing. So I do not like just come in and say these are the changes to the menu that I want to create. I've made them myself. I have the recipes for it. Just copy paste. I do not like that, and that's how I was treated before. It's like you do not speak; you just recreate what I've asked you to do and what I have taught you to do, and I don't like that. So I come to the team and I said, say like, okay, I want to change this, and these are my ideas. These are the flavor combinations that I have thought of, but I'll let you think about it, sleep on it, and come with some suggestions. Also, I'll go to one section or the other and let them be part of it, and then polish it together. So I'm a bit of an, I don't know if an art or music director, like I help them and myself and the restaurant accomplish dishes that come or are aligned to the core values of the business, and that we're what we're trying to do. So it is Rafi. I was hired to come and open it, and I was hired to do so because of my history and also because we're aligned on core values as well. But the vegetable-driven seafood, Peruvian food being very seafood-driven, and my history growing on the countryside. So we're doing that. We're using great produce, very simply cooked, like we're doing whole fish, we're having coral trouts, we're searching for sustainable or responsible harvested produce, and I'm learning about the fishing industry in Australia, which is completely different back home, and seasons that are similar because our summers we're in the same hemisphere, but everything here it's so new. So I'm so curious and so passionate to discover what you guys have. I have never used truffles, for example. We do not have truffles back home, fresh truffles, I mean. So we're going on Monday to search for truffles, and it's just crazy discovering and getting to eat them and smell them, and okay, what does your instinct tell you when you smell it, when you try it? What flavors are we thinking, or what flavors come to mind? So that's what I mean when I say I have an instinctive style. Right now we've been developing this onion dish, which is a side, right? Like not a side, but we want you to come to Rafi and order a chicken and mushroom dish with nutmeg and lemon, and share it between, I don't know, 4 people within your table, and order 3 or 4 vegetable dishes. Also, you can have a cucumber salad with labna and dill and lemon, or you could have this new onion roasted or braised in virju with pine nuts, aged Piangana cheddar, and vanilla oil. So it's very very simple, but creatively combined, and interesting to eat, but also nicely to digest. I believe that our roles as chefs do not end with coffee and the bill; it ends with digestion. So I've been to tasting dinners when at the end I would have really tough time digesting it, because I've had different kinds of proteins and different kinds of fruits and sours and dairy, and I'm lucky not to be allergic to anything, or but still, like I think if we're gonna host our customers, we need to make sure that it's not only fun and entertaining and new, but also that we're nurturing people.
You mentioned that part of coming over to Australia was to immerse yourself in a group and find out sort of how a group functions. What have you taken from your time so far here at Rafi and in Applejack?
Everything's new to me. The diversity of cultures in Sydney it's fantastic, and Applejack is a very driven and ambitious group, and so am I. So I'm really thankful for the opportunity that has presented, and I'm really happy to be a part of this. And I'm just so eager to see what's coming, and help Applejack keep on building what they started 10 years ago.
What's your plans over the next couple of years? You very ambitious, and you like to immerse and do many things. You mentioned there's a couple of new cafes or venues opening in Peru as well. How do you see the next couple of years for yourself?
I've made my mind coming into Australia. I'm not going anywhere. So I'm staying here, and my plans are to stick with Applejack as soon as or as long as they want me. And see, I do eventually want to own my own businesses here as well, but I'm very happy to be where I am, and I'm still needing to learn a lot more of how things are around here. But I mainly want to just help Applejack grow.
Well, you've had such an incredible impact since you landed and opened Rafi. What do you love about what you do?
I love the people. I love the produce. I love how not one day is similar to the other. I really enjoy Australia. I think it's quite genuine. The industry and everyone doing what they're doing and the problems that they're facing is just all new to me around here. So I'm discovering at a slow pace. I'm dining. I'm getting to know people and producers and seasons and studying different like the fishing industry and the areas where the prawns are coming from and which ones are better for a respectful harvesting or fishing. And it's everything's so exciting at the moment, so I'm happy to be here.
Well, it's an absolute honour to get you on Deep in the Weeds today, and look forward to seeing what you do from here on. Please keep in touch and we'll catch up again soon.
Looking forward to it, Huck. Thank you very much.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.